Listen, both these guys played for the Cowboys, so we'll get to college football in a second, but let's get to the Cowboys right now and everything going on with Jason Garrett. They're no longer in control of their destiny. They need to win, and they need the Eagles to lose to sneak into the playoffs. All eyes on the future of that head coach, Jason Garrett, whose contract expires at season's end.
The last game that Jason has on his contract for the regular season, do you think of the consequences of where you guys are and how you got here?
No, I think it's the last game on mine as well. So I'd be damned if I speak on anybody else's future or their place.
Are you surprised that you don't have a deal right now?
No, not at all. I'm just not surprised.
When do you think about your future?
Not a whole lot.
When will you?
I guess at some point in the future.
Look, it makes sense that these guys would be getting questions about contracts and their future. But, Marcus, just for the sake of this conversation, and it could be likely, let's live in a world where the Cowboys miss the playoffs. How confident are you in Dak being the guy that leads this team into the future?
I believe they franchise him. Quarterbacks are hard to find. And when you find one that has given you moments where you say we can win with this guy, it's not easy to detach yourself from him. We've seen organizations go into an abyss because they want to continuously try to find the program changer or the guy that's going to take you into the next millennium. I think Dak is a formidable quarterback. I believe Dak, you can win football games with Dak and possibly make playoff runs. Here's the issue, though. What is that commitment like? That's where the Cowboys are now. Dak bet on himself at the beginning of the season, and when you take a possible 7-9 record into a negotiation, you better believe they're going to use that against you when you start having those serious conversations, especially after the performance against the Eagles when the NFC East was up for grabs.
I think it still goes back to what you said at the beginning of your comment about quarterbacks are hard to find. And so you have a guy that you know can win football games, he'll get paid. I don't believe that the 7-9, missing the playoffs, that won't be part of the negotiation of what Dak Prescott can be. The Dallas Cowboys haven't played up to the level that they should have played up to. They should be a playoff team. They might not be, but that's not necessarily on Dak.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that the supporting cast hasn't really done what they should do. I mean, look, you go into the season, you think with Ezekiel Elliott, you think bringing Jason Witten back in as a leader in the locker room, you got Amari Cooper, you got all these guys on the defensive side of the ball too. Where do you think it went wrong?
I could not hear what you just
said
asked.
Where you think it went wrong with the Cowboys.
They don't make enough critical plays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In football games, especially in NFL, because as bad as it may feel, it'll still be a one-possession game. And so it comes down to critical moments and critical games where you have to make a play. And that's what the Patriots have done so well for so long. If it's a big 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, they pull it off. The Cowboys have not been that team in critical moments.
And to Joy's point, the Amari Cooper drop, the Jason Witten drop, the Dak overthrow to Tavon Austin, the drop by Michael Gallup. We're talking about plays that would have probably changed the outcome of this game, especially the Tavon Austin one when Dak missed. That was a touchdown. So to your point, Joey, critical plays. This is the biggest indictment on coaching to me, though. Like an unprepared team. Not knowing what your identity is and not knowing what you're going to get. 3-game losing streak, win 1 game, 3-game losing streak. And then the NFC East is up for grabs, and your best wide receiver is on the sideline.
If you keep Spears talking long enough about the Cowboys, you can just see the energy start
well,
to
the good thing is then maybe you'll be able to hear what we're saying, Joey, down there on the end. Really quickly, who do you think Jerry Jones' first choice of any of these guys that are out there for another head coach if they do let go Jason Garrett? Who would it be? Lincoln Riley? Is it Matt Rule? Is it Urban Meyer?
I mean, I wish I knew, Laura. My personal preference would be Ron Rivera. He took the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl. He understands how this league works. He has enough cachet and enough kind of wherewithal to be like, Jerry, we're going to do it this way. Just trust me. A lot of these coaches coming in, they're going to have to follow Jerry along the lines.
Interesting you went 3 college guys. You talk about, I mean, asking a college guy to step into Zeke Elliott, Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, and try to get this team turned around. I don't know that's for a college guy.
That's the one, Joy, Jerry Jones.
Yeah, that's for a college
I agree with you guys. I think it's a better McCarthy, maybe Rivera, one of those guys that are out there. More on this game to come, but let's get back to college football and the game happening right here in about 30-ish hours between LSU and Oklahoma. LSU set to take them on as a 13.5-point favorite in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl tomorrow afternoon with their Heisman quarterback and a talented cast.
From operation, his rapport with Joe Burrow, his ability to impact the offense. knowing where to pick pressure up at, knowing how to be the check down guy that Joe Burrow needs in case there's pressure from Alex Grinch in this Oklahoma defense. But, you know, from a production standpoint, the running back spot in college, we've seen guys step in from a strictly running back position and have success kind of under the radar. But with Clyde, for me, Joey, it's more about his protection and his ability and rapport with Joe Burrow in crunch time situations.
And I think if we were talking about playing a Clemson or Ohio State type defense, it would mean a lot more going against Oklahoma. They want him, don't get me wrong, but I think they'll be fine without him. It's going to put more pressure on Joe Burrow to make plays. But it's Joe Burrow. And so if you got to put pressure on a guy and you trust to make these kind of plays without that running back behind him, it's Joe Burrow, so they'll be fine.
The last time we saw Joe Burrow on this field behind us in the SEC championship game, he was carving up a talented Georgia defense. He's seemingly unaffected by any pressure that comes his way, but what will the expectations be for him on this field tomorrow?
The one thing that I've enjoyed about Joe Burrow is that I think it's just another game to him. That's how he approaches things. And Joey knows, Joey knows better than I do. When you have a quarterback that walks into the locker room or walks on the field and say, hey, guys, let's go out here and get this done. Let's just go out here, execute, take care of our business. That's the kind of guy you want to follow. And I believe that's Joe's approach. And his ability, knowing he can make those plays. He's had time and time again in situations, being on the road at Texas, being at Alabama, having to come from behind, playing a tough game against Auburn where they only scored 23 points, but he was able to make plays. His confidence is palpable throughout the whole team, and I think guys follow that.
I want to ask you, Joey, about Jalen Hurts and what he brings to the table. What do you think is important for him and how Lincoln Riley may use him in this game to try to get something going against LSU?
Jalen Hurts just has to be Jalen Hurts. I don't think he has to be Superman in this game. He's been a quarterback that has won a lot of football games. I think we sort of forget what he did at Alabama before he got to Oklahoma. And so now he goes to Oklahoma. They win the Big 12. And so he's gone and played football. He has to take care of the football, though. In the back half of the season, part of the problem with this offense is turning the ball over. So if Jalen Hurts takes care of the football, this offense will be able to score points against LSU's defense.
Jalen Hurts got to be Superman. I'm telling you that right now.
Stop it, Spears.
With what LSU does offensively.
LSU's defense isn't very good.
LSU offense is very good.
So it's going to be 65 to 60.
You crazy in your head, boy.
We got crazy.
The Titans last.
Well, last 2 weeks ago against the Titans, he had 3 passes of over 20 yards in the air. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL. If you look at it, he has the 4th most in the NFL this season. Tennessee, one of the worst teams against the deep ball in the NFL. Let's take a look at the tape and see what they were able to do. You see Deshaun Watson identifying middle of the field safety, utilizing the play action pass, and he's going to try to get the crosser route to our guy, DeAndre Hopkins, here at the bottom of the screen on the deep over. Running across the field, you see the huge area he has to be able to throw the ball in. The safety is chasing, trying to catch Hopkins. Look at the space that is created by the play action. A nice big pocket, drops a dime in there. Great pass, big chunk play, moving the chains. Let's take a look again. Using the same play action to create space and separation up front. Going to run 2 deep overs this time to try to get the deep shot to Hopkins. We're seeing him right here in the pocket. Watson, it's breaking down. He has to use his athleticism to get out. So even when the play breaks down, still able to get it done. And this is the rapport he has with Hopkins. He reverts out of his route, comes back across on the scramble drill. Another big chunk play. He had 3 in the previous matchup. If he's able to do this again, they're going to be able to do that to the Tennessee Titans. It'll be a Texans win on Sunday.
Time now to run the hurry up on some quarterbacks around the NFL and see what their future may hold. Lewis, this is a good one. It's been an up and down year for Jameis Winston. Should the Bucs bring him back as their starter?
Yeah, why are you going to put me in this position and answer this question? Well, I'll tell you what, unless they have a better alternative, I would say, yeah, they should bring him back. Look, he is one of those guys, when you look at the next-gen stats on him, he's actually top 5 in many critical categories. When you look at things like tight window throws, true distance, as far as air yards traveled per completion, I mean, these are things that really bring some context to just how good Jameis can be. The problem is the guy turns the ball over way too much.
All right, Bobby, what team do you think you see Cam Newton on next season?
I think there's probably people that would like to see him go to the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
He's kind of a better version of Mitch Trubisky. He's a little bigger. He's a little faster. Even though he might be beat up some, I still think that he could be a guy that could take that team, which looks ready-made with a terrific defense, solid running game, potentially to the next level. There's going to be different suitors out there. Chicago has to make some decisions, but I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to bring in that veteran to try to push the young rookie if he can't get it done.
Speaking of the Bears, what should they do, Lewis?
Yeah, they've got to light a fire under Mitch as far as competition is concerned, adding someone this coming off season, and then going into the 2020 training camp really with an open mind as far as if Mitch is able to win the job and is able to rise up to the competition, great. If he's not, then be prepared to move on. I think this is a situation where it's going to quickly run its course. No one has been a bigger supporter of Mitch Trubisky than me. I really thought in his third year he would take a jump with Matt Nagy, and he just hasn't, and that's just a fact. Matt just can't seem to get him into the proper headspace to where you can constantly get, or rather consistently get the same kind of performance, a championship level performance, a winning level performance. And that's something like, you're not paid to be a psychologist in the NFL. You're just not. Although some people think that coaches are paid to do that. I see Seth Greenberg behind the screen over there. Like, maybe he's one of those kind of psychologists that could do this kind of thing. But I think that's really where they're running into a roadblock with him, because he has all the skills. It's just, can you do it consistently? And right now he hasn't proven that he can.
Part of the problem when you look at this with him is they traded up to get him at number 2.
Yes.
And he's not playing like that elite level guy that you want up to get. If you would take him in the 3rd round, you'd say, hey, this is maybe someone that we could build around. Because you know what? You've seen him play well at times. He can put together good games. But he's been very inconsistent over the course of his career. We've seen the ceiling from him, and I don't know if it's high enough to justify him necessarily being your long-term answer, or at least being married to that at this point.
I'm glad you mentioned his draft position, by the way, because NFL front offices have apparently no familiarity with the concept of sunk cost. Ryan Pace, the GM who drafted him, he's still there. And Lewis, you know as well as I do, GMs don't move on from the quarterbacks they drafted.
Sure.
Do you really think he would actually move on from Trubisky?
Well, I think we're going to find out just how strong the relationship is between him and Matt Nagy as far as whether or not he is willing to move on, Mina. Because, look, a wise GM once told me this: you'll find out the strength of your relationships here between a GM and a head coach at the times of prosperity and adversity. And right now, they're hitting a lot of adversity when it comes to deciding whether or not this quarterback is good enough. So we're going to find out this offseason whether really right now who's really controlling the direction of this franchise. Because if it's up to Matt Nagy, he's going to want a different quarterback, I can promise you.
I love the introduction of sunk costs, a little economic principle to bring in here. But this is the thing, like you said, you have to marry the players that you want as a general manager by talking to your coaches. Who fits in your system? Not maybe just who is the most talented, but can this player do what we ask him to do in the scheme that we run?
And you know what? Here's the thing, the last thing I'll say about this. Mitch can do it. He just can't do it consistently.
Every day.
And that is the difference between backups and starters in the NFL. I was told that a long time ago. You can do it, just can you do it when I need you to, which is all the time, and he can't. Simple as that.
We got a little bit of breaking news. It's been